Don't you know that playing with women is an art, and cheating is what makes a man? Don't you think I'm such a gorgeous husband?
I've reached my limit. I am Martha, 52 years old. I work part-time as a cleaning lady in a nursing home. I have been married to a janitor my age for 25 years. We have 2 children, Harry and Jean. They are both college students. One day before work, my husband started holding a bottle I had never seen before, and I was like, huh? Perfume? I raised my eyebrows because my husband had never used perfume since we were married. Then he gave me a condescending look and said something about why I shouldn't use perfume.
No, it's not bad, but...
I'm not saying it's bad, but why all of a sudden? I simply asked him about it. And then...
A man of any age needs to improve himself.
And suddenly...
A woman is no longer a lady when she has a child. They just become mothers. A man is still a man because he doesn't have to give birth.
He dodged my question, saying that there might be a difference in perspective here. And presbyopia.
You need to take those glasses off right now. You're shifting them to look at things. I'm changing to double vision colored lenses at work because I want to take care of myself at my age.
And my husband pulls out a pair of purple-colored glasses from his pocket to show me. It was a very shiny pair of glasses with silver frames on the top. He didn't seem to like the way I was judging him by the look on his face. As he put the perfume away in his bag, he sprayed it in my face. I gagged on the harsh mist. I coughed and cried.
It's a sanitizer for an old hag.
He laughed, and laughed, and laughed, and then he slammed the door and went to work. Perfume? Colored glasses? I was horrified by this surprising array of things, and I was also horrified by his aggressive way of talking to me, spraying perfume on my face. That was the beginning of my husband's aggressiveness towards me. The next day, I was standing in front of the bank, feeling very sad. Why was my husband like that yesterday? I don't think there is a single person who wouldn't be depressed by getting belittled and having perfume sprayed on their face. But I didn't want my sons to see me unhappy. And also, because of my pride in working at the nursing home, I never wanted the people at the facility to see a depressed face. So, there was only one solution. I was a little bit depressed at times like these. Let's go out for a nice lunch alone to blow off steam. I have a bank account with my earnings from my days when I used to be single. I went out in front of the station with a bank book of my personal account. My mother opened this account at the post office when I was born, and has been funded ever since. And I still save the money for my cleaning job by separating it from the monthly household expenses. I had hoped to use it for my first and second son's weddings, and I have been spending up to $50 a month of it on treats like this. But I didn't feel the need for a reward so soon and didn't use it for a few months. This is a secret course for me. But when I went to the ATM to withdraw the money, I was surprised. I checked my balance, and to my surprise, it was 0. Huh? What? My mind went blank. I rushed to check the contents of the bank book. That's the only place I could think of. I ran home. I was too weak and pale to comfort myself. Did you use the money from my savings account? I hold up the bank book, and he says,
I spent it, but so what?
That was the dreadful reply from my husband. You spent it?
Because we're family, and what belongs to the family belongs to everyone.
What kind of philosophy is that? This was to fund Harry and Jean's future wedding and new house. You can't touch it. You say what belongs to the family belongs to the whole family, but you can't just spend it all by yourself, I retorted. Then,
a wonderful family project. It's a dirty job you have, isn't it? That's why I have to go looking for another woman.
What? A woman? I raised my voice. It was so predictable. Oh God, a woman.
Unlike you, I'm young at heart, but think about it. Like I said before, you can't just have romantic feelings for your mother. That's more dangerous, right? But that's on you too, because you're not even trying to be a proper woman. You're just doing a dirty job, like cleaning houses to earn money. I'm a better person than you. I'll probably meet with the right girl. I like young women. They smell good, and they don't whine like you.
That's too much for him to say. Just when I confront him about an affair, he belittles me for my age and tells me that I'm in the wrong. What? My blood rushes to my head in anger, and my words become louder. My eldest and youngest sons heard the commotion and came downstairs. They could not enter the living room, so they peeked by the door. My husband did not notice this and continued to talk to me.
Don't you know that playing with women is an art and cheating is what makes a man? Don't you think I'm such a gorgeous husband? You don't think so, huh? You're just a mother and a cleaning lady. If you have a problem with me, get a divorce. You can't do it anyway because I'm the one who makes our living.
I couldn't take it anymore. The blood rushing to my head exploded with a bang. I'll gladly do it. I shouted and poured water on him. I'm going to clean up your filthy mess, so pack up your stuff and get out now.
Pack up my stuff and send it here. Fill out the divorce papers there first and send them to me, and I'll sign for them.
He took a scrap of a receipt from his wallet and scribbled the address on the back of it and left. I stood in the room afterwards. Why do I have to pack your stuff? Who has been supporting this house? I trembled for a while in anger, but after 2 hours I began to feel uneasy. Will this house be able to hold up? Well, I'll just have to make do. I'll work more hours at my part-time job. I called out to my oldest and second son who were peeking out the door. It had been 2 hours and they were still there. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad are fighting, but you guys don't have to worry about anything. I'll work more at my job. My eldest son blurts out in response.
Dad suddenly changed with his stinky perfume. He said having kids makes him old. He said that we're a burden.
What? A burden?
Yes, he said he wanted to be young. Having kids is a burden, he said.
I reminded myself that this was no time for insecurity. You're my reason for living. I won't let you be inconvenienced until you're old enough to live on your own. My work ethic was ignited. Mrs. Martha, have you been cleaning here more often lately? The one in the wheelchair is Mrs. Lucy. She's one of the residents of this nursing home. Well, I'm in need of some money. I laugh in reply as I move the mop around. But I'm getting fat and I should exercise this much. Mrs. Lucy looks at me and says, But your hands are getting so red. Mrs. Lucy reaches out from her wheelchair and grabs my hand. I was unexpectedly overcome by emotions at such a moment. Suddenly, tears fell from my eyes. It was so bad that even I didn't realize at first that I had sunk to the floor. It is not easy to support my sons as a single parent, but I couldn't sit at home and brood over my situation. I was subconsciously tense. I think I suddenly relaxed. I hadn't had someone hold my hand and worry about me since the separation. Mrs. Lucy's eyes widened at my falling tears, but she gently rubbed my back. What happened to you? Tell me. I've been so grateful for all the help you've given me in cleaning my room. I'd love to hear your story and take the crap out of your mind. I couldn't stop crying anymore. I then talked to Mrs. Lucy, crying. Mrs. Lucy was rubbing my shoulder the whole time. A week later, I was in front of the meeting room of the nursing home. Good luck! Mrs. Lucy held my hand the same way she had that day. I nodded. Shall we go? We went into the room with another person. Inside the room, there was my husband.
What are you doing here? Calling me all the way from work?
He asks me with a half smile. I work here.
Poor you. So you're gonna say, please come home after all? Are you going to get down on your knees and say, you can't make ends meet?
My husband is smirking, wearing his new glasses. I sit down opposite him, but even at that distance, the scent of his perfume hits my nose. Do you really think that's why you were called out here?
That's all I know. You're saying that you're just here for your own reasons, but it's really because you don't want your 2 sons to see this, right? But that doesn't make any sense. What's with the guy next to you?
My husband glares at the man next to me.
Oh, come on. You started cheating on me too? But then again, you're still wearing makeup the same way as before. You haven't lost any weight. I guess you're asking me to get down on my knees too.
My husband laughs without any sense of shame. He really thinks I'm such a crybaby. He even claps his hands and laughs. The man next to me offers his business card.
Martha is here to talk to you about post-divorce property. I'd like to talk to you about your post-divorce assets. I'm Roy Edwards, her attorney. What?
In an instant, my husband's laughter stopped. He probably thought I was having an affair with a lawyer. I guess he wasn't expecting that. He gulped. Mr. Edwards is the son of Mrs. Lucy, the wheelchair-bound woman who had approached me before. That time, when Mrs. Lucy rubbed my shoulder, "How can there be such a terrible story?" Mrs. Lucy cried as she spoke to me. She was angry with him as if I were her own. "You work so hard cleaning the room and say cheerfully, 'I'm done,' and smile at me. You know how much you inspire us, and you come up a lot in our conversations at meals. Everyone's always saying how nice you are. We've been talking about how you've been a little down lately." And Mrs. Lucy introduced me to her son. That's how it happened.
Huh? She's the one who asked for the divorce. I'm not paying alimony. I wouldn't have divorced her if I wanted to pay.
My husband's attitude changed as soon as he heard the word lawyer. He suddenly spoke respectfully and toned down his voice.
Where was his, "I'm getting a divorce"
now?
I won't give you a divorce if you're going to make me pay.
He's really saying that? But Mrs. Lucy smiled. Whoever requested the divorce doesn't have anything to do with the payment of alimony. And if you don't agree to the divorce, we will go to court. I'm going to explain now that you, the husband, is entirely to blame. It's due to cheating. You don't believe that this is unfair and that the husband is entirely to blame?
There's a reason, but...
Whatever the reason, you cheated on her. My husband is panicking and tries to make a counter-argument.
She's just a mother with a plain face. I heard on TV that you can get divorced if there are serious reasons to not keep the marriage.
That's why what you say about a woman's worth is so questionable. Mrs. Lucy is blunt. But the main problem is... Mrs. Lucy pulls out a piece of paper. It was a debit statement for my bank account. As she's holding it up, she says, "It says here that all of these were drawn from Martha's account, but..." Then Mrs. Lucy pulls out another piece of paper. "This debit card is in your name, her husband." My husband nods in a shaky way. He must have admitted that he used it. Mrs. Lucy's voice was slow in contrast to my husband's rapid speech, like a gentle, gradual overpowering. "I see." Mrs. Lucy looked at me, and she confirmed it. "Do you have any memory of making cards like this?" I shake my head. I breathe in and answer clearly, "No." Mrs. Lucy turned her face back to my husband. "It looks like this was made with a family card linked to this account. You made a card without your wife's knowledge and falsified the application form. Therefore, you are guilty of forgery."
What's that?
"It's a crime."
What?
"In other words, it is a criminal matter. A crime." That word carried so much weight. They're words that people don't use in their normal lives. My husband was confronted with the reality of having committed such a crime. "So, here are the card statements. For branded bags, cosmetics, accessories."
I don't have it all. I gave them away.
"It doesn't matter." Mrs. Lucy brushed it off. I have to say something. I mean, how could you use your wife's money to buy a present for a woman you're having an affair with? I just had to butt in. Spending your wife's money while saying that cheating is what makes a man is beyond shallow. But I also thought that those crooked values should be beaten down, and I should cut him off at that point.
I have the statement as evidence, so you'll have to pay this in addition to the alimony.
Oh.
My husband fell off his chair.
That is why I called you to be present.
Mrs. Lucy gets up and opens the door.
Mrs. Lucy told us the story, you know.
My sons came in.
Oh, you!
My husband, still lying on the ground, looks up at them. They both look down at him.
So, we're just a burden to you, huh? But we feel like you're the one who's being a burden because you spent our money and put us at a disadvantage.
Then my oldest son sprays him with perfume that my husband had left from the house.
I'll disinfect you. You get out of our house.
He cried the whole time. I watched him for a while.
Shall we go? We have nothing more to talk about.
Mrs. Lucy urged me to go. We left the room, leaving my husband snotty-nosed and shaking. The people from the nursing home were waiting for us outside.
How did it go?
Mrs. Judy, a client from the nursing home who was in a wheelchair, was in the front of the group and called out to us.
It was fine.
Mrs. Lucy's son replied. Everyone applauded. I looked back at the meeting room. I wonder if my husband can hear the applause as he breaks down in tears. I was able to have this ending with everyone at the nursing home, my oldest and youngest sons. In the end, my husband and I were divorced. Mrs. Lucy was right. I got my alimony and my money back. My husband was thrown out, penniless. Of course, I got my alimony from the other woman too. Thanks to that, they split up.
I'm no good without someone.
I also got an email from him, crying to get back together with me. I'm not your mother. I blocked his calls. The day came when I had to withdraw half of the money from my savings account. That day was my eldest son's wedding. He's wearing a tuxedo and his beautiful wife is standing next to him.
You know,
my eldest son approached me.
Give me your hand.
And he places a small gift box on my hand.
Thank you for raising me. I didn't know what to give you as a present, so I heard that you needed something to write your name with in the cleaning schedule, so it's a pen.
My second son peeks out from behind me.
My brother said he wanted to thank you for everything. I wanted to do that too, so I also put in a little something.
I almost cried. I'll save my tears until the ceremony. I look up.
Thank you, Mom, for everything you've done. Your hands make me and Jean proud.
I look at my dry hands, and the bride holds them for me.
I know a good hand cream.
I'll buy some and come over. Thank you. I squeezed her hand back. Thank you. I live with the happiness that comes from being surrounded by so many people that I love over the years.